in the last 24 hours, we've also learned about some other efforts of sharing signals legally obtained between other Big Ten opponents. Michigan has submitted documents to the Big Ten and the NCAA showing proof that they say that Rutgers and Ohio State shared Michigan signals with Purdue ahead of the Big Ten championship game in 2022 when Purdue and Michigan played. Some of the reaction that I've had in conversations to folks around the conference is that this is Michigan deflecting and trying to equate legally obtained information with what Connor Stalions is alleged to have done. But that's where we are. Michigan is waiting and also trying to push back. We had a letter that has been leaked from Michigan President Santaono explaining Michigan's viewpoint here, that they believe that there's due process that needs to play out and that the Big Ten should not punish anyone or attempt to punish anyone at Michigan until all of the facts have come out with the NCAA investigation. The ADs and the coaches are saying, hey, you already have enough proof that this happened, that there was an NCAA violation that occurred, that Connor Stalions was buying tickets to illegally advance scout Michigan opponents. So we'll see if Tony Petitti ends up acting, but that would be the window. They would be saying, hey, we know this piece happened. We don't know who else was involved or how Connor Stalions paid for these tickets. That can be worked out later, but this is an issue of competitive fairness. As the season is unfolding in real time, it's unprecedented, and Tony Petitti would be taking an action that would become a precedent, really, in something like this. So, Chris, I tried to recap all of it as quickly as I possibly could, but there are so many layers to this story. So I want to get your thoughts on where we are right now as Michigan is bracing and waiting for potential punishment from the Big Ten Conference.
Yes, Michigan is trying to divert and muddy the waters in a way that convinces Tony Petitti, the Big Ten, not to hand down punishment and to only leave it to the NCAA. And you know what? That's what Michigan should be doing, because that's what they're fighting for. Everyone's fighting against them. They're fighting back. That's how this works out. It is different what these other teams have allegedly done. No, like the issue with Connor Stalions, again, is that he did things that are clearly against NCAA rules. Like that is very much out there. By the way, I don't know if you mentioned it, Central Michigan still not commenting on who that mystery person was on the sideline. They are now working with the NCAA too. I think you can infer some information from that by what is not being said. So how much proof does the Big Ten have that that Michigan committed NCAA violations? And can it act on that? That is the question. Because all these other things are not against NCAA rules. Now, you could argue they're against sportsmanship. And that's what the Big Ten punishment would be, a violation of sportsmanship clauses. So Michigan's trying to say, like, look at all these other teams doing unsportsmanlike things, even if they are legal, to convince the Big Ten not to do anything. Michigan's also threatening to possibly sue, get an injunction, involve the courts, whatever, to keep Jim Harbaugh on the sideline. It's just wild that the Big Ten has devolved into this situation. And it's a lot on Tony Petitti. You're not no matter what you do, someone's not going to be happy. And so we'll see if something happens. It's not an enviable position for him, but the facts on the ground haven't changed. All that's changed is Michigan's trying to say, like, look, other teams are doing unsportsmanlike things as well. You can't punish us for that, even if what they did was against NCAA rules. So as the world turns.
Yes. And some of the argument on the Michigan side all along has been, well, everybody steals signs. And then the pushback is, but not everyone was illegally going to opponents' games to videotape the signs. And that's the part that is against NCAA rules. So, we've seen like sign sheets get circulated. We've seen coaches and players on a sideline like frantically gesturing because they know what the play call is from the opponent, reacting. All of that can be perfectly legal as long as the information was obtained in legal ways. That's what is at question here with Michigan, because if you're illegally advanced scouting and not getting these signs off of TV copies, all 22, all of these other methods, then you are breaking NCAA rules. So that's the part, again, that I think we just constantly need to reinforce, because there are legal ways to sign, seal, and people do believe in that. Like, certain coaches really believe in that and believe that it gives them an advantage. Again, the question of what is under the sportsmanship policy for the Big Ten. Can the commissioner suspend a head coach indefinitely beyond that 2-game threshold, which is spelled out in the policy of what he could do without an appeal? There are just a lot of questions. And I think what's important to keep in mind here, 2 things. NCAA has moved away from punishments involving players when the players were not involved in the rule breaking. So, without, like Tennessee, there were a lot of egregious violations occurred. They did not get a postseason ban. A lot of adults were punished. There was a hefty fine that was levied against Tennessee. But think about that as you think about what the Big Ten could do. Maybe they're more apt to punish the adults in the room, a Jim Harbaugh, let's say, for rule breaking that happened under him. Even if he didn't know directly what Connor Stalions was doing, you're saying, hey, it's an institutional thing. You were not in control of the institution or the culture or whatever, right? There was rule breaking that happened under you. And the NCAA holds head coaches accountable, whether they knew or didn't know about what happens. So would the Big Ten reflect that, kind of mirror that policy into action that they might take against Michigan? We'll see. And again, apologies to anyone who's listening who already knows what the Big Ten is doing, or if there is legal action in response by Michigan. But it is a very uncomfortable situation in the conference. And as you mentioned, Chris, like, there's no win here for Tony Petitti, because either you're going to be dealing with 13 incredibly frustrated schools, especially if Michigan wins out and represents the Big Ten in the college football playoff, or wins a Big Ten championship and, is there with all the confetti, or you have a Michigan program that is also furious at the conference for what they would believe would be overstepping its bounds or enacting punishment before a full investigation is complete. So there is no good outcome, I don't think, here for the commissioner.
There was some good insight. So the story that you, Austin, and Bruce did that went up Tuesday night with some details on the documents that were put together by Ohio State, Rutgers, and Purdue about Michigan signals. And you also talked to another Big Ten staffer who steals signs legally. And he said it took him 10 to 12 hours per week to decode it off of TV and other film. Like, this is a lot of work. Like, when you have 1 million staffers on your staff, these are the kinds of things that they do. So it makes you wonder, why did Connor Stalions feel like he had to go to the extent that he did, allegedly, of filming and doing all these other things when it's clearly something that a lot of people already do? Why did they have to go that extra step? That's what we don't know.